Welcome back, OIG family, to another episode in our AMA series. Today I'm joined by Daniel, Saito, and Justin from OGL. And they're going to be talking to us about what OGL really stands for and what we can see into the future with looking through the lens of OGL. So, Daniel, welcome. Justin, how are you guys today?
Doing great. Thank you for having us.
Awesome. Awesome. So I guess let's start with a little bit about yourselves. Daniel, why don't you tell us how you got started with OGL? Where did the inspiration come from?
The inspiration for OGL came from the early 2000s when I actually started the peer-to-peer console system around Sega. We pioneered the peer-to-peer network gaming where we had to create an ISP from scratch. And the Dreamcast console back then actually had a modem, a dial-up modem, and also an Ethernet port. And the idea was is that there has to be a way to get players to meet in online at a console level. They were already doing it at a PC level, but not at a console level. This is before PlayStation went online as well as Xbox. So we had the early mover advantage at a hardware level. Of course, the Dreamcast console was fraught with bugs, mostly specifically the hardware level. And we actually had to recode not only at the software level, but we also have to bypass a lot of the security, or not the security measures, but also the hardware aspects of our Dreamcast to make sure it works. But overall, all in it worked, and we were able to actually be one of the true consoles that started the whole console to console gameplay in that sense. And we wanted to create a low latency network, but given that the time was early 2000 and the United States was on dial-up and it was a 33.6K modem inside there. So it was very limited in the experience, but yet we were able to do gameplay. And I believe the first game that was actually played was a game called Choo Choo Rocket. You can actually YouTube it. It looks like a cat and mouse chase game on crack. And the idea is that we want to revisit gaming in a decentralized manner, since now infrastructure has progressed. Wi-Fi is now significant, and people actually have nice high-speed computers in that sense to power these games. And what we wanted to do is see if we can revisit this idea and this thesis of being able to do low latency gaming and be able to prioritize packets, or specifically gaming packets, and see if we can actually be able to create not only is OGL an infrastructure play, but it's also trying to prove the point of whether if we can do high speed gaming and low latency gaming at that.
Awesome, awesome. A lot to uncover there, and I'm sure we're going to get into a little bit about the low latency gaming. But Justin, let's start with a little bit about you as well. Welcome to the show, and yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. So I started with OGL back in March as an intern, hopping in, very much a gamer, but someone who's pretty new to the crypto space. And so when I joined the content team, the way that I wanted to start producing content was more from the standpoint of I want to be someone who wants to learn along with the audience, not someone who knows all and is telling all. And we started producing content where I was learning along with users about cryptocurrency, about some of the misconceptions about crypto, playing games, talking about games, being informational, and coming from a learning standpoint about, just finding people who love video games and how we can intertwine that with what we're doing here at OGL. And, I quickly rose to the head of the entire content team, thanks to Daniel's belief in me. And since then, we've been able to grow a great community, and it's been really fun to engage with a bunch of different people from a bunch of different standpoints, because it's true. There's some people who know more than I do on certain aspects, and I'm happy. It's just a really fun learning opportunity to be able to learn from our fans, from our users, and then also be able to teach things to our fans, to our users, and see their reactions to it.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, Justin's been great in regards to building content. He's been quite the social bug, and he was also able to learn crypto fairly quickly, and we actually had him go through a Coursera a session, and he actually passed with flying colors in that sense. How long did it take you? You kind of breezed through that fairly quickly.
It took me under 2 months.
Yeah, but at the same time, imagine learning crypto within 2 months, and in order to be able to speak about it, you also have to be educated about it. And so I learned crypto through just trial and error, whereas Justin actually learned through an academic program. And so there is difference, and so in that sense.
Definitely, and I can relate to learning through trial and error. A lot of errors in that aspect, and it's a
Yeah,
lot harder, right? But
yeah. You lose a lot of money,
yeah,
and it's painful that way.
exactly. So no, and we're gonna get into the scale of the community within OGL as well later on in the show. But I guess let's just introduce the actual project to our community. So why do you think there is a need for OGL? What is it looking to uh, really introduce into the space?
Well, when we started with the whole network games and the aspect, whether if it was first playing Doom on the local area network to eventually getting consoles to play online to playing each other, it took off. It took off fairly quickly. Now I think there's about 6 billion gamers right now online playing, and half of those are streaming and having fun. But gaming can tend to get quite toxic. And with that, you had swatting, where people call the SWAT team on you, and they break in the door and stuff like that. And it's all fun and games until someone gets shot or something in real life. But and that's actually doesn't happen, and it has happened more than it should. But with that said, we wanted to make a non-toxic environment in our so-called metaverse, and be able to not only uh, find community around your games that you enjoy, but at the same time, identify new games that you might be interested in playing. But first and foremost, it's making new friends. And I think gaming is fun when you play with friends that you know or friends that you've befriended, and finding new people maybe halfway across the world. And we want to be able to bridge that and help create that.
Perfect. So obviously that's going to require a lot of infrastructure, a lot of which we, have yet to see within the crypto landscape. So I guess let's dive into that a little bit. What kind of features or elements will you be introducing to really create that infrastructure?
So it's still early in the game, and literally pun intended. But with that said, we are working on a lot of the aspects at the infrastructure level of trying to make the whole low latency computing happen. And we have the building blocks from our previous projects, and we're importing on most of those aspects into the game, where we can actually prioritize certain packets to actually be more accessible and faster. And so whether if you have a high speed connection or a fairly okay or congested, or if you're working out of your dorm room and there's like other people playing games, your rates can vary. And what the idea is that we wanted to prioritize these packets. And by doing so, we actually take the Unreal Engine's packets, and we try to prioritize them, and as we flag those. And with that in mind, we also want to get OGL to be a jump starter in regards to other games. And so whether if you want to be, I think it's all about Steam meets the metaverse, where we can also make community around it. So if Steam had a metaverse, this is kind of how it would look in that sense. And what we want to do is not only introduce games, but also be able to build that community around each game in that sense.
Yeah, and it's great that you're making the comparison to Steam, as they're a large entity in the gaming world, and all the more reason for us to kind of look forward for the integration of blockchain technology within the gaming world, because obviously as a gamer myself, I use Steam, and I also see the power in the infrastructure, but as well as the community. So I wanted to ask, and I guess this is more for Justin, but how were you able to grow your community, and what kind of tools are you using to incentivize your community for the long run?
Well, the great thing about our community is that everyone is very vocal. We take a lot of I say respect to our followers, to our fans. We try to respond on everything. We try to ask them things. We try to hear back from them and engage with them personally. We want the OGL platform to be a space, like Daniel said, that's for positivity, where people can come to talk to each other, connect without having to fear about negativity or any of that. And we've used that across our social media channels. That's the messaging that we've been branding to help us grow. And I think we've seen a pretty positive response. Our YouTube and our TikTok have combined for nearly 7 million views across them, over 550,000 likes, over 30,000 followers, subscribers combined across them. It's been really exciting to see before the platform is even launched, just the response for people who, like you, are love gaming, or people who, like Daniel, love crypto, or people who are into gaming that do crypto, or vice versa, or people who just want to learn more. So I would say the techniques that we've been employing have just been listening to our community, trying to engage with them, not trying to BS them on any level. We're very open, very honest, and that's exactly what we want to show in the platform itself.
Yeah, and that attention to, the line of communication between the team as well as the community is very important. And when a project does focus on that, it shows in the work that and the product that they build, because ultimately the end goal is to please the user. And in this case, we are the user as well as the builders, and it just makes it an all-around more coherent product to see that you're listening, you're adjusting, and you're adaptive to what you're hearing.
Well, I would say that's why we're all focused on user experience. Beyond anything else, we want the user to have a great time. That's why we're a multiverse connector. We want someone to be able to come in and have a one-stop shop where they can hit everything from one platform. We want it to be as easy as possible. We are just purely focused on making sure that the people that join us have an enjoyable time in a safe space.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And that's great to hear. And obviously this is going to take some time to really build out what the end goal. So I guess really, why don't we take a shift here and ask, what kind of team are you building or have you built to accomplish this? Like, who do you have on your team that makes you feel confident that you can achieve this?
Well, in our team, we have our senior developer, Carlos Bott. He's actually a great programmer in games. He's actually academic in regards to game programming. So he actually teaches this in a professional realm. So a lot of the game programs that you see on the market today, I've probably gone through Carlos's class and learned how to program, specifically games. So he's our team lead. We had Steve Ford, who actually does a lot of the character design and 3D modeling. So we got two great industry leaders in that sense, that are both academic as well as have past histories of releasing AAA game titles. And so we're very fortunate to get these individuals on our team. And of course, we have Justin here, who's rallying the community and does a great response ratio on all YouTube comments. He actually goes in and comments and answers questions. And we also have a great social media team where, as well as mods on our Telegram and Discord channels, and they are very responsive, and we're very fortunate to have a great team that covers a fairly large, surface space of everything, whether it's gaming or crypto.
Awesome. That's great to hear. So I also, on that note, with the team and the community and kind of everything coming to one really epicenter of OGL, I guess you need something robust to manage the infrastructure in terms of the currency or the incentivized aspect. So what kind of role will the native token play within the ecosystem?
So in the ecosystem, the token is utility, of course. And the thing is that we also understand that wellness is a key component in gaming. And, we don't incentivize people sitting in front of the computer 6 or 8 hours a day playing games. Of course, we tried to have them stand up and get some exercise, go out in the real world and enjoy the real world in that sense. And so we actually have like a mobile component that we'll be releasing later on, where it can monitor how many steps you do in a given day as well. And so it can give you that incentive of, okay, so you exercise today. So wellness is another key component that we do want to address. Another thing is the mindfulness to make sure that you're okay. I mean, one thing that I'm sure that not a lot of people get asked is, how are you doing today? You know, your mom or dad might ask you, but not everyone not is doesn't get asked that question. Whether if it's AI asking you, how are you doing today, it does actually make a difference. And at least it makes you think, how are you feeling? And at least if it's a computer or if an actual real person asking you, it does matter in that sense. And it kind of has a more of a empathetic tone in that sense of trying to understand where you're at in your life in that sense. And so people sometimes escape from gaming, escape to gaming just to from real world problems. And sometimes that's a way to kind of phase shift out of your mindset, but at the same time, it's also an escape method of real problems. So it is good to do a check-in to see, hey, well, how are you doing? And as well as trying to address the mindfulness as well as the wellness of an individual. And so the token will basically have a utility value in there. As well as we actually have a mechanical Turk running in the background where it will have certain tasks on a daily basis. And this is done so we can actually have more of a daily active users, because the current competition right now is, whether if it's Decentraland or other folks, they don't have a whole lot of daily active users. When they have like fashion shows or larger scale events in these metaverses, then you get the users and whatnot, but that doesn't happen every day. And those are spot events. But what we want to do is we want to encourage users to come back on a daily basis to do these tasks and earn the OGL token.
Impressive, and really an attention to detail. I mean, you really make a good point about just being asked how you are. I mean, mental health plays a big role in society today, and it's, you know, it's decayed, unfortunately, because of the amount of chaos that we're seeing everywhere. So it's just nice to see that, you know, there's light at the end of the tunnel in terms of somebody looking out for us and our mental health, you know, and that's amazing. That's really remarkable.
Right.
So I guess we can make a quick switch gears here to our community questions that we've selected from our YouTube channel. These were questions that were asked in our community on YouTube. And we have our first question here from MD Millen. And this person asks, I saw that OG Life is related to Strong Node Edge and that integration allows users to earn SNE and OGL for using the platform. But other than that, what other benefits at the development and technology level are behind that integration, and what relevance do they have for OG Life? So a pretty big question
All
there.
right. Great question. And in regards to how the integration works, is that when you actually have OG Life running in the background, it is actually the theory is that any gamer that will be playing or using OG Life will have a GPU in their computer. This is our access to get access to this GPU and be able to those GPUs aren't exactly cheap. They can span from $300 to $1,000 fairly quickly. And the idea is that those GPUs are highly coveted in other mathematical computational tasks. We're not going to be mining Ethereum or Bitcoin off of it using the GPU. It's more like doing a lot of machine learning tasks and whatnot. And if we can aggregate a lot of the GPUs, and that allows us to get that access to that. So there'll be strong node running in the background in that sense. Including OGL. Of course, is a user-defined option, whether if you want to do that and whatnot. It's basically an option in aspect, but it is a long-term play of kind of being able to utilize everything and commoditize your desktop PC and eventually your mobile phone and whatnot, and as well as consoles. But initially, the idea is to be able to get access to the gamer, and the gamer usually has high-spec computers, and be able to get that, and or they usually have a high-speed internet connection, and by doing so we can become a network for gamers in that sense. And so StrongNode is that network. We'll bridge that network for gaming in that sense, and so people can use your computer to become an exit node for the connectivity. We do share a lot of the software in between what we've created for StrongNode. So a lot of the KYC, AML aspects where it uses StrongNode IDs for user login aspects and getting news and updates and getting your performance tasks and whatnot. They'll be using a lot of the StrongNode infrastructure in there. And as for the gameplay in the metaverse, that's all OGL. So the idea is that strong node is the infrastructure, and the abstraction presentation layer is done at the metaverse layer with OGL.
Impressive. Very remarkable stuff. Okay, let's move on to our second question here. And this comes from Christopher. And Christopher asks, how will the OGL platform compete with today's popular gaming platforms such as Steam and Origin? What are your advantages in terms of product variety and earnings return?
Well, the thing is that we're still working out the economics on the earnings, the emissions of the games, whether in regards to kind of the achievements. I like how Xbox does the achievements, but it's just kind of sits in your kind of your achievement box, where we want to be able to make them into active NFTs, where I believe when you have your own house or your own persona, you can be able to wear them as badges in that sense. And so that's one aspect. So you can see them as NFTs now. And another aspect is we can also have people identify new games. And so whether if it's third-party games, and we have partnerships with these said game partners, we want to be able to push these third-party partners and introduce them. And we want to be kind of the aggregator for games. So when new games come out from Activision and whatnot, we want to be able to also help promote those games and be able to drive traffic to those games, and help build community around them, and have people have that conversation about what's the best strategy to do X, Y, or Z, or find other clans that people can join and whatnot. So we want to be that happy medium of where people can meet and communicate and hopefully have fun.
Awesome. And now we come to our last community question, and this comes from Namdi. Namdi asks, security of a project plays a vital role so that you are safe. What safety measures have you adopted that keep you away from hacking and bugs? Have you performed an audit?
Yes, we've actually completed our audit. Our audit is done by our third-party partner, CertTech, and we passed with flying colors, so that's good. But we actually want to take security and user privacy to the next step. So all the interconnectivities when you're actually online playing games and whatnot and installing OGL, it does use the strong node infrastructure at the same time. So all the communication will be done in a VPN tunnel, and so all communications will be private. And so we want privacy to be first in that sense. And so you could say our first use case for strong node VPN or the Anzen VPN will be OGL. And so the idea is that we want to roll out our product so our users are connected securely to different points in the world. If they want to play with someone in Brazil, and if you're in Tokyo, you want to be able to have a direct connection there and have a secure connection at that and be able to play seamlessly. And with that, we want to take user privacy in that sense. So no one can, whether if it's your ISP or any intermediaries, to know what you're doing or how you're playing or whatnot. It's all encrypted in that sense. So not only that, but everything is anonymous, but at the same time, we prevent people from doing bad things, mainly because we have that strong node ID component where you have to identify who you are. Because we need to know whether if you're over 2021, because there'll be advertisers in our metaverse, and whether if they're selling tobacco or beer, we need to know whether to show those advertising to you in that sense. We don't need to know you by name. We don't need to know you where you live, but the idea is that we need to know the general region you are in. And so with that, we'll have areas that you can go into that's over 21 too. And so whether if it's online gambling or whatnot, because that in itself is a game too. So we do have those user access restrictions of where you can go into if you're a minor and playing the game in that sense. But overall, the idea is that most OGL folks are over 21 or 20 years old. And so they can actually go and enjoy it without any restrictions.
Yeah, and just the level of efficiency with having certain parameters from your digital profile being identified by StrongNode and on the platform. It's really gonna help, like you said, advertisers, but even the recipient get much more catered information, right? And
That's right. And one thing that we wanted to, let's touch on advertising for a second. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to flip the whole advertising paradigm. So if you look at an ad, we want to pay you for looking at that ad. So it's kind of like basic attention token in that sense, where if we take cycles from your eyeballs to look at an advertising, and you should be compensated for that in that sense. And so we want to have Web3 be all about ownership. So if your time is your is equated to money, and if you look at advertising of some sort, you should probably be compensated. And we're working that out in this whole algorithm of things. And eventually, when you have a building in the metaverse, and that building has a screen or a poster or something or a TV inside, and you are watching an advertising that's focused on you, and you focus on it for, let's say, 2 to 3 minutes or whatever, or however long the advertising might be, and if you complete the advertising, you should be paid on it. And so we want to make those incentivized aspects in there. So yeah, in that sense, we want to have it for, we don't want it to be like you have to pay to earn in that sense. We want to have people to actually enjoy playing it, and actually then, and because it's a game at the very beginning, and the idea is that you play it, you enjoy it, and if you enjoy it and spend time in it, you make money.
I mean, that's what everybody loves to hear, right? So that's great to see. Okay, well, that wraps up our community question segment for the show. Let's just come back to a little bit more about OGL, and in terms of the overview of your roadmap to date. What are some great achievements that you've seen in the past couple months or even years within OGL, and what do you see looking forward that really excites you?
Well, we got a working build, and we are accepting early access for our players to actually be our guinea pigs. And we don't have tokenomics enabled in this early build, but we need to flesh out a lot of the bugs. And so we are actually, if you go to ogl.gg, you can actually sign up for early user access in that sense. Since we have a form there, you can sign up. And the idea is that you go in the queue of getting early access into it and kind of give us feedback and find bugs. We will have a finding bug mechanism in place. So if you find identifying enough bugs, you get compensated in that sense. And because it's a bug bounty, the good old standard bug bounty, because game programming is difficult, and you can't imagine how to design everything and things break and expect it to break, and if you find those bugs, then you get paid. And so it's the good old snap idea, and that will be in Q4 of 2022, so it's within this month that we're opening. If you actually go to our ogl.gg website, you can actually sign up for early access in that sense. Of course, this queue is full because there is a queue, and there are a lot of folks waiting in line to get playing and whatnot. There's your confidentiality clauses of not being able to leak the information and whatnot, and the gameplay and whatnot. But be able to feedback our gameplay and bugs is always essential, because we always want to make a quality game, and user feedback is key.
Nice.
And then after, I think in Q2 of 2023, we'll have the free play of OGL to be live. And this is something I'm really looking forward to, where we can actually not only get our secure connections between each gamer, but at the same time try to really prove the point that we can have low latency gaming across the world. And that's kind of where we want to light it up and go full steam on this. We also, in between Q4 2022 and Q2 2023, we'll have our IDO. Of course, the market is not very good right now, but at the same time, the market will always kind of be bad until we see at least 2023, it will be bad anyways. But we want to be a gaming company first in that sense, and releasing a game is key. And then we want people to enjoy the game and actually have fun. And the aspects of the crypto and the aspects of the token economics being enabled in the game will be enabled. And then that, I think we can delay kind of that release of that probably later in probably Q3 to Q4 of 2023 in that sense. So, but that in itself is never easy, as we need to always kind of work out the emissions and whatnot. But of course, we have the mechanical Turks and stuff like that running in the background, doing daily tasks and stuff like that, where people can earn tokens. We expect around Q4 2023, probably about 1 year from now, we could probably see a full-blown um, launch of this metaverse and other metaverses that we are currently partnering with. And we'll have announcements accordingly with that. And as metaverses aren't born overnight, we are actually having them queued. And these are third-party folks that actually want us to build a metaverse with them. So as we said, that we are the metaverse aggregator. The idea is that we want our metaverse to be a jump point to other metaverses in that sense. And this is kind of where we take that narrative and connect it to other interesting metaverses.
Impressive. And, it's clear that things are really ramping up with the next 12 months and your schedule for releases. So, obviously we wish you all the best, but we're also very excited to see what's next and can't wait for the main launch. And obviously everything along the way, because that's really going to give us, the community, the users, a taste of really what OG Life is going to be, or OGL is going to be providing for the world, and that's going to be exciting to see.
Yeah, and trying to get user community join and enlist and register and play, give us feedback. But most of all, we want people to have fun and play the game. And I think gaming is our priority in that sense, and to have fun. And the idea is that you don't get much of a chance to, as a game developer, be able to make a game that you enjoy playing. And of course, we're a long ways for a full-flown game to be operational, but we want to at least give a sneak peek. And so once again, please go to ogl.gg and register for an early game.
Awesome. Well, Daniel, Justin, thank you so much for your time today. It was an impressive show, and for all our viewers today, all the links will be in the description down below. So be sure to check out OGL and what they have to offer. Again, thanks again, guys, for everything today. We wish you all the best, and we hope to have you back on soon.
Thank you for having us, and also go to our YouTube and subscribe. And as Justin's always coming out with daily content.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.